If you only had 5 free minutes every day and you had to choose one activity to improve your English speaking, pronunciation, and overall fluency, which activity would you choose? Well, I'll tell you what I would go for. It's an activity that has its origins in interpreter schools of the 1960s and 1970s. It's an activity that is both incredibly simple and easy to do, but is very hard work. Yet the results can be fantastic. The activity, of course, is shadowing. And in this video, we'll talk about what shadowing is, why it works, and how you can do it effectively. And keep watching right to the end as I will share with you some of my favorite advanced tips and tricks that really take shadowing to the next level. Okay, first, definition time. What is shadowing? Well, you might have heard it being called an echoing exercise or repeat after me exercise, and the clue is in the name. How it works is that you listen to a short piece of audio and almost at exactly the same time as the speaker, you say what they are saying, trying to copy their exact pronunciation, the word stress, and the intonation.
Oui, c'est vrai que moi, j'ai déjà fait la réflexion quand je vivais en Pologne, parce que j'avais l'impression qu'en Pologne, les enfants étaient un peu plus appréciés, entre guillemets.
Bene, allora cerchiamo di capire insieme dove e quando è nata la pizza. La sua storia è piuttosto lunga e anche un po' incerta. Infatti ci sono...
Vad vill jag göra då?
Vad vill jag göra då?
Vad vill jag helst göra då? Det är viktigt, eller hur? Det är viktigt att tänka på.
Simple, right? Well, yes, it is simple. You don't need any complicated courses or apps or any kind of equipment to get started. All you need is the audio of someone speaking English or your target language. This can be a podcast, it can be a YouTube video, it can be the radio, it can be anything. So it's simple and easy to get started, but once you get started, and I'm going to talk about exactly how to do it in a minute, you might find that it's also very hard. It's an intensive activity, the kind of thing that you really shouldn't do for more than 5 minutes at a time, because it is a real workout for your mouth and also for your brain. That's one of the reasons that I like it. It doesn't take a long time at all, and the effects can be very powerful. So, let's talk a little bit about how and why shadowing works. Firstly, it helps with auditory processing. It forces you to listen to the sounds, the stress, and the intonation of English in a way that you don't have to do if you're just listening. Secondly, it really engages your mouth and forces you to pronounce sounds that you might not have pronounced before. So because you are listening and you're trying to copy, you are mimicking the exact sounds that the speaker is making, this is forcing your mouth to work in ways that it might not have worked before. Thirdly, it's very helpful in terms of chunking. We know that English, or pretty much any language for that matter, is not made up of individual words that sit as unique actors. It's made up of chunks of language, and forcing yourself to speak these chunks out loud at the same time as someone else is very helpful in terms of retaining those chunks of language. And there's a bunch of academic research into how and why this actually works. I'll put some links down below. But really, I think the best evidence behind it is all of the anecdotal evidence that you see, whether that's famous online polyglots talking about how shadowing has helped them reach those levels, whether it's the emails I receive almost every day from learners talking about how much shadowing, especially shadowing with podcasts, has helped them, or it's all these kinds of comments that you see on YouTube videos. I found this one here from Charles Z8531. who said, I did shadowing in the 80s. I walked around a quiet place while holding my radio near my ear almost every day. I was repeating what was being broadcast on BBC, and he persevered for about a year. And within a couple of months, my listening and speaking improved tremendously. Shadowing definitely works. Well done, Charles Z8531. Now, you can follow this man's advice and wander around with a radio next to your ear listening to the BBC. Technology has moved on a little bit, so there are other ways you can do shadowing too, and now that's what we are going to talk about. So, what and how to shadow in English? Well, you can shadow with anything. You can shadow with podcasts, with YouTube videos, with audiobooks, with the radio, with famous speeches, with anything. The important thing is to make sure you are shadowing someone who speaks clearly and with a voice and style of speaking that you like. Accent here, I don't think is as important as many people make it out to be. It's much better to shadow someone who speaks very clearly and articulately in an accent that is perhaps not your target accent than it is someone who speaks with your target accent but in a way that you don't like. And importantly, please, 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 for the love of God, do not try shadowing with these AI-generated, especially YouTube videos, because very often they don't pronounce things in the right way. They don't have the connected speech and the cadence of a natural English speaker. So you'll end up speaking like a robot. Just look at this. Within 20 seconds of one of these very popular shadowing YouTube videos, you can see that it's completely wrong.
That's because the hardest part of learning English isn't grammar or vocabulary.
Did you hear that? That's because the hardest part of learning English isn't grammar or vocabulary. That is not how a native speaker would say that. It is so clear and noticeable that that has been generated by AI, by a text-to-voice system. And you don't want to copy that style of speaking. So there's so much authentic, real human English. Don't learn from computer-generated English because you don't want to sound like a robot. The other thing is that it's very helpful for shadowing if you have a transcript that you can read from at the same time. So you are comparing the spoken English with the written English, and you can practice both shadowing with the transcript and without the transcript. So let me demonstrate myself shadowing in English now, which is slightly unusual because I am a native speaker of English, so I do not need to practice shadowing in English. But if I was not, this is what I would do. So I'll use the example of the English Learning for Curious Minds podcast, which is a podcast I make that is kind of designed and set up very nicely for shadowing, because you have the completely correct transcript, you have all the timestamps, you've also got subtitles there if you need them. So lots of people use this podcast and this platform for shadowing. So let me just share my screen now. So here we are on leonardoenglish.com/podcasts, where you can listen to every episode of English Learning for Curious Minds, which is the podcast for intermediate to advanced English learners. We make lots and lots of different episodes on all sorts of funky, interesting topics. We also have got lots of episodes that have completely free transcripts, so you can head to this page, I'll put a link down below this video, and listen and learn with any of these episodes that all have these interactive transcripts that are great for shadowing. So let me just give you an example now. Let's choose this one, which is about the history of Teflon. So there's a few cool things you can do. You can adjust the speed if you need to. You can download the PDF study pack that has all of the transcript with the key vocabulary and all that kind of stuff. So you have the transcript, you have vocabulary definitions in here too, and right at the bottom you've got a big vocabulary list, language spotlight, and also a quiz section. But let's focus on the activity of shadowing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find some high impact sentences that we can repeat after the speaker. So let's just go down and start with something easy. We can just click here to take us right to this bit of the podcast.
Unsurprisingly, they were an immediate hit.
Okay, so you just repeat after that. Unsurprisingly, they were an immediate hit. And we can try with a longer one.
Of course, but it was very well paid. And
with a young family and a wife who'd taken a career break to look after their young boy and plans to move to a much bigger house, well, the money will come in handy. That's one way you can do it. You can go and choose the sentences, or you can just press play and repeat after the speaker again and again. So here we actually have subtitles too, so I can show you how we would do that. On the 9th of October 1998, Bilot was sitting at his desk in his office. His phone rang, his direct personal line. And of course, you can also try not reading the text. Usually there was a secretary, sometimes a family member, or a long-standing client. The number wasn't public information, you see.
But today...
Now, don't worry if you don't catch absolutely everything. The goal is not to understand every single word and repeat every single word and sentence perfectly. I think it's absolutely fine if you skip a little bit, because sometimes the speakers can speak a little bit fast and you get a little bit lost. And it is an intense activity after all. If you're using these podcasts, you can also do stuff like choose your language. So let's say you were Polish and you wanted to translate an entire sentence. You could do something like this. So you can also get the translations in your language too, as well as hovering over these purple words and getting the definitions in English. And you can also, if you're being a little bit lazy and you want ChatGPT to do the heavy lifting for you, you can just copy the transcript here and get ChatGPT to find you some sentences to shadow. So you might write something like this. Okay, so we've said we're a Japanese speaker, and ChatGPT has found some pretty good sentences in that podcast for us. Now, there's no need to overcomplicate it like that, but that is something you can do as well. And on the subject of overcomplicating things, this wouldn't be a video about shadowing if I didn't show you how the grandfather of shadowing, Alexandre Arguelles, suggests doing it. He says, walk up and down at a brisk pace, preferably outside, like this. So, you don't have to do that, but that is one option. Okay, so that's a demonstration of how you can do it. My bonus tip on shadowing, how to take it really to the next level, is that once you have practiced shadowing with a sentence or a paragraph multiple times, just pull up your recorder on your phone or your laptop and record yourself speaking that sentence out loud as closely as you can, with the same tone of voice, the same cadence, the same speed as the original speaker. And then listen to your version and the original version and try to pinpoint what was different. Perhaps you'll hear a difference, which is great, and you can work on correcting that difference yourself. If you have a native speaker friend or a teacher, you can send the two recordings to them to see if they can hear any differences, because that will also help you pick up on sounds that you hadn't realized you were missing out on, and really focus on those problem sounds. Okay, so there we go, shadowing. And now I've got a task for you. Try shadowing right now with me with this sentence. Okay, so I'm going to put the text on screen and I want you to repeat at the same time as me. Shadowing is simple. you listen to English and repeat it at the same time, like an echo. It's tough at first, but it's one of the fastest ways to improve your pronunciation and fluency because it trains your brain to listen and speak together. Studies show shadowing helps learners improve their listening and speaking much more than just listening passively. If you want to sound natural in English, this is the activity to do. And then go back and go back and go back and do that activity again and again and again. And if you want to shadow with the English Learning for Curious Minds podcast and all of the functionality that you saw there on the website, we've got a bunch of free transcripts that you can use. I'll put a link in the description below this video. Good luck, have fun, and let me know in the comments how you get on.